When will the Pokemon market crash? That seems to be a question that a lot of people have, and as the newer people who have joined the hobby start to do a little bit more research, they start to really question themselves and wonder about a potential crash and a lot of their money either being lost or their investments turning red and they lose a lot of money on these products that they maybe paid a little bit too much money for. They got a little bit trigger happy when it comes to prismatic evolutions or destined rivals, whatever it may be. And this crash happens, they don't sell in time, and they lose a lot of money. That's a big question that's been involving the Pokemon community, and I want to talk about it today because it's an interesting one. It's an interesting topic, and I want to put my ideas out there, my thoughts out there, just like I do with every video. So, real quick though, let me know if you like the new set. I don't know. I just put a lot of stuff on this shelf, and whenever I have a video that I don't need necessarily like to look at graphs or whatever to explain anything, we'll just be here and we'll be chatting away and we'll be talking, and that's what this one's gonna be. So, yeah, with the Pokemon market crashing, there's a couple different things I want to say because I believe that like a crash is inevitable. It's if you are ever been around stocks or like crypto, you're gonna have ups, you're gonna have downs, and it's always about buying low, selling high. Right now we're at a high point. I've said it the past almost a year at this point. We're at a high point. Like if you have investments and you want to realize some gains on those investments, you may as well try to sell them off, especially now with all these people interested and people willing to pay the prices that some things are. It's a great time to offload some product, or you can continue holding it and hope it goes up more. And when it comes to crashing, I think the only people that need to be worried about it overall is like the people who have just recently joined it, like in 2025. If you've just recently started investing in 2025 and you have not been buying stuff from either like the Pokemon Center drops or like Target drops or purely at restocks, and you've been purely buying like just market price stuff, that's where you'd be worried. And some of you watching, or most of you watching, would maybe say nobody's doing that. There's definitely people out there who have done that and have purchased a lot of stuff with not much thought behind it, and just kind of the thought that, wow, this is just gonna go up and up and up. That is genuinely how some people think out there, and especially with, I think it's become more popular now, especially for just Pokemon, but just the card industry in general, to buy sealed product and keep it sealed and potentially sell it off for more money in the future, because the proof's been there with Pokemon since the start. I mean, you buy a Pokemon booster box in 1999, you sell it off in 2020, and you get insane gains that you probably are not going to see with anything else, especially stocks related. Maybe crypto, but crypto's a whole nother thing. So that's why I'm saying that a crash is going to be inevitable, because it's always going to happen. I mean, 2020, you had the same thing, but it's a little bit different now. I think the hype around Pokemon is much more solid of a foundation than it was in 2020. This is just genuinely more people getting into Pokemon and the Pokemon product. But now, my kind of hot take would be that Scarlet and Violet is one of the best eras we've ever had when it comes to the cards released and the TCG overall. Sword and Shield's up there, but Scarlet and Violet has had some amazing sets: Surging Sparks, Prismatic, Paldean Fates, Destined Rivals, and even the lower tier sets of Scarlet and Violet, people are going to hold some nostalgia to. Like your Obsidian Flame, Scarlet and Violet base, just because it's an era that has captivated so many people, got so many people back into Pokemon who maybe enjoyed Pokemon as a kid, watching the anime, or collected cards as a kid. It has gotten so many people back into it overall that Scarlet and Violet's going to be I was going to say set, but going to be just overall an era that people look back on with nostalgia in the future. So that's why I don't think that we'll currently see a crash anytime soon. It's potential that we see it with Mega Evolutions, but even so, Mega Evolutions looks to be, at least personally, my favorite set to come out in the past year or so. Like, Prismatic was great. I never had I never loved the evolutions like a lot of people love the evolutions. Surging Sparks was cool. Distant Rivals is a good set, I will say, but Mega Evolutions, those cards in that set, we're getting away from the terastallized stuff. I hate the terastallized stuff. And this is just personal opinion. It's not really like an investing take, but we're just getting to the point with Mega Evolutions where we're back to kind of a root. And Mega Evolution, those cards look insane. The Gardevoir, the Lucario, those are the two off the top of my head. I don't think that the Pokemon hype is going to slow down at all. I know all the way back in January when we're kind of at the peak of the hype with Prismatic, there was people saying that around this time we'd probably start to see it falling off. I still don't think we do. I think we at least make it to like February, March of next year because we got Mega Evolutions dropping in September, which is pretty hyped. We're going to have another set in November, which is going to be another like Mega Evolutions type of set. But like we have September, and then you get to October, and you start to already get into the holiday season, which you usually see a spike in like card games in general because you got people buying them as gifts, people buying them to open them up or whatever. You got Black Friday sales that might happen. I'm not sure about this year just because of the market we're in, but there were a lot last year. But just overall, we're gonna get to the end of the year where like Pokemon does have a bit of a spike just because it's the holiday season and people are buying a lot of Pokemon as gifts for their kids of all ages. They could be buying them for their 30-year-old kid. They could be a 30-year-old buying them for their 5-year-old kid and buying some for themselves. So I don't think 2025 we'll see a crash. Maybe we see stuff start to go lower, but it's not going to be a crash. It's just going to be a normal graph. Like it has its highs, its lows, and a crash in my eyes. People use the term crash too loosely nowadays. Like, oh, Prismatic's crashing. It went from 105 per ETB to now $99 per ETB. Like that's not a crash. It dropped $6. Like $6, whatever. If it went from 105 all the way down to 60, that's a crash. That's a crash. I don't think that's going to happen. Prismatic's already been out for 8 months. Sure, it will continue to be printed for another year and a half, 2 years. But still, that's a long time. A lot of other sets coming. You got multiple other hype sets behind it, like the Black Bolt hype, the Destined Rivals hype, and then now Mega Evolutions and whatever else comes out in between that time. So it's just going to be, it's hard for me to see that, the people who preach MSRP, that actually comes to fruition. Because there's still just as much hype as ever, I think, behind Pokemon. And we've probably seen a lot of people bow out of the hobby after getting back into it just because of not being able to find anything in stores, and they've just kind of given up. But still, there's a lot of people very interested in Pokemon, and way more than you think. Just because you don't see it, there's definitely a lot of people interested. Even in my personal life, like I don't have a crazy friend group. I have a close friend group, and then I have some other guys that I like. We're cool, you know what I'm saying? So even in that, like I've noticed and know of multiple other people who have gotten back into Pokemon, and they still very much care about Pokemon within this whole period here from January to now. I know personally multiple people, like more than 8 people I would say, who have gotten back into it, and they're still very heavily into it. So if that's just me personally, just think about the entire, United States, Canada, Europe, whatever, wherever Pokemon's hottest. I mean, Japan, of course, too. But that's a lot of people, still a lot of hype, still a lot of people looking for product. And I think Pokemon's finally starting to get some more on the shelves. Like, I've seen some Reddit posts, and you can take it as it is. But you see some restocks, and they are actually, like, full-on restocks. Tons of, like, poster collections of Black Bolt or binder collections, and a lot of those boxes starting to fill shelves compared to some of the restocks we would see, like, maybe 4 months ago, where it'd be a couple ETBs, whatever, just some random Ogre Pond boxes. So it looks like the restocks are looking better, but still, you see those photos, and they're still, like, someone takes a photo of that restock, and it looks full, but behind that camera, you got a line of 20 dudes waiting to eat up the restock. So the restocks are getting more full, but it's just more product going into people's pocket, unless it's a place where you can only get a limit. But even so, they still get, like GameStop, they have limits. They've had limits for a while, but that stuff still gets eaten up quickly just because they got a whole 30-person line waiting for the new drops. So the crash, when will it happen? That's not going to happen anytime soon. Not in the year of 2025. I could see the middle of 2026 maybe being a dark time. I could see by the end of 2025 we start to see more product and actually see some price drops on these sets that have come out recently, like Prismatic. I don't even mention Journey Together, but Prismatic, Destined Rivals, Black Bolt, White Flare, and then potentially these Mega Evolution sets, and maybe even a couple older ones like Surging Sparks. I could see that we start to see some prices fall off a bit if they are continuing to get stuff out, but I don't see a crash within, at least around this time, 2026. And if there is, I mean, that's great. Like, most people should be wanting a crash so you can pick up more product at a lower price. You can open stuff up again without paying outrageous amounts. You can get a ton of product for a cheaper price to keep in your sealed collection or as a sealed investment. You should want a crash, because if there's a crash, that just means at another point you're going to have a time like this where it goes back up. And that sounds, some people get mad at me when I say stuff like that, but if you look back in time, that's just how, not even just Pokemon, but just how stuff has worked over time. Like, I'll use crypto as an example here. In 2022, Bitcoin, or like 2021, Bitcoin got like 60K per Bitcoin. 2022, there's a big crash with all crypto. Bitcoin drops below 20K. I think it got to like 15,000 per Bitcoin. And now today, it's above 100,000. I haven't checked it recently, but I don't know, last I remember seeing it was like 111,000. That's a couple weeks ago, but maybe it's even higher by now. You would think it got to 15,000. That was the end. That's the lowest point. It's never going to get back to where it was, and now it's nearly double of what its peak was in the past. That's a loose example, but it is an example nonetheless. So a crash is never the end of the world. And, there will be one at some day, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, especially because Pokemon keeps cooking and keeps releasing some great sets. And, maybe they'll fumble here soon and cause the great downfall, but I don't see it happening. So thanks for tuning in this video. It was a yap sesh, but just want to get my ideas out there on the crash and also kind of show off the new set that I got here. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next video.